Damien.
GCPD Report, Volume 3, Number 2. The Birthday Earth 1 Saga. 1. God's Monsters and Mortals. Part 1, Mortals 2. The recording starts with the sound of police radios and distant sirens. A crime scene has been established in an alley in the Otisburg district. Detective Harvey Bullock steps underneath the police tape. All right, everybody back up. An officer looks toward him. Detective, we've got a problem. Bullock looks at the body. What kind of problem? The victim. Bullock walks closer. He stops. A child's body is lying on the ground. Bullock's expression changes. Jesus. He crouches down. How old? 8. Bullock looks at the officer. 8? That's what we have so far. Bullock looks back at the child. He notices something near the body. A small birthday pin. He picks it up carefully. Birthday? The officer nods. We found a birthday card in his pocket. Bullock looks at the body again. When? Today. Bullock pauses. Today? According to the card, yeah. Bullock slowly stands. So the kid was murdered on his birthday. Nobody says anything. Bullock looks around the alley. Any witnesses? Nothing so far. Security cameras? None covering this part of the alley. Footprints? We're still looking. Weapon? Nothing. Bullock sighs. Of course. He walks around the body. Any signs of robbery? No. Anything missing? We don't know yet. Bullock looks toward the forensic team. Get everything. Blood samples, fingerprints, fibers, anything you can find. One of the officers looks at him. You think Batman did this? Bullock immediately turns. What? The kid. Some people are saying, don't. Bullock points toward the body. Look at that kid. The officer goes quiet. Does that look like something Batman would do? No, detective. Then don't waste my time with rumors. Bullock walks back toward the body. He looks down again. 8 years old. Murdered on his birthday. Bullock's voice becomes quieter. What's his name? Jonathan Matthews. Bullock looks at the birthday card. Jonathan Matthews. He slowly shakes his head. Somebody really wanted to ruin a kid's birthday. Bullock looks around the alley. Or maybe they wanted something else. A forensic officer approaches. Detective Bullock? Yeah? We found something. Bullock turns. What? The officer holds up a small piece of material inside an evidence bag. Fabric. Where? Near the body. Bullock looks at it. Could be from the killer? Could be. Bullock nods. Then let's hope whoever did this was stupid enough to leave something else behind. He looks toward the body one last time. Because I'm not letting this one disappear into a stack of paperwork. The recording captures the sound of Bullock walking away. Then his voice is heard in the distance. And somebody call Montoya. Tell her we've got another murder. End of GCPD Report, Volume 3, Number 2. GCPD Report, Volume 3, Number 2.2, The Candy Killer Earth 1 Saga. 1 God's Monsters and Mortals, Part 1, Mortals 2. The recording starts with the sound of police radios, footsteps, and officers talking quietly. Detective Harvey Bullock walks beneath the police tape. He looks around the crime scene. Another child. Another body. Bullock stops. How old? An officer checks his notes. 9. Bullock looks at the body. 9. He takes off his hat. What happened? Same thing we've been seeing. Bullock looks toward the forensic team. The candy? The officer nods. Found pieces of cotton candy near the body. Bullock's expression hardens. Bag it. It's already been collected. Good. Bullock walks closer. Anything else? Nothing obvious. No weapon? No. Signs of a struggle? Not really. Bullock looks at the child's hand. There are tiny traces of pink sugar stuck to the fingers. Bullock stares at it. The kid ate it. Looks that way. Bullock shakes his head. God. He walks around the crime scene. Another child, another death, another victim of whoever this candy killer is. Bullock looks toward one of the officers. How many now? The officer hesitates. 10 children that we can confirm. Bullock looks at him. Yes. Bullock looks back at the body. 10 children. He takes a deep breath. Get everything from this scene. Candy samples, fingerprints, fibers, anything. Yes, detective. Bullock turns toward the rest of the officers. And I want people checking every candy store, candy factory, distributor, vendor, and warehouse in Gotham. That's a lot of places. Bullock looks at him. Did I ask how many places? No, detective. Then go. The officer leaves. Bullock stays behind. He looks at the child. His expression becomes darker. Hell, I may work for someone like Falcone to get a little bit more pay, but even I can't stand the death of children. Bullock looks at the cotton candy evidence bag. And even though I hate the bat, he pauses. If he's even real, Bullock looks down at the body. I can't pin this on him. His jaw tightens. Not this. Because then I'd have a guilty conscience. I'd be letting a murderer who kills children get away. Bullock puts his hat back on. Ugh. Gotham. What is this city turning into? Later, back at the GCPD headquarters, Bullock walks through the main room. He looks exhausted. Harvey Dent approaches him. Bullock. Bullock keeps walking. Not now, Dent. Dent follows him. How are you doing today? Bullock finally stops. He turns around. I'm not in the mood, Dent. Dent looks at him. Another one? Bullock nods. The candy killer. Dent's expression becomes serious. Another child? Yeah. Bullock walks toward the evidence room. And someone get that Nashton guy. Dent looks confused. Edward Nashton? Yeah, the guy who likes riddles. Bullock points toward the evidence room. Get him to do the autopsy report on this child. Dent nods. All right. And someone get officers out there. Where? Everywhere. Bullock slams a folder onto a desk. I want patrols checking every place that sells candy. He looks around the precinct. And I want somebody to bring me the murderer. Bullock walks away, like yesterday. Dent watches him leave. Bullock disappears into the crowded GCPD. The recording continues for several seconds. Then it ends. End of GCPD report, Volume 3, Number 2.2. GCPD Report, Volume 3, Number 2.3, A Captain's Burden, Earth 1 Saga. 1 God's Monsters and Mortals, Part 1, Mortals 2. The recording begins inside Captain James Gordon's office. The door is closed. The sounds of the GCPD can still be heard outside. Phones ringing, officers talking, police radios crackling. Gordon sits behind his desk. Several folders are spread across it. Penguin, Black Mask, Child Murders, Candy Killer. Gordon looks at the folders. He rubs his eyes. God. He leans back in his chair. There is too much. Too many criminals. Too many investigations. Too many bodies. Penguin, Black Mask, the gangs, and now this. Gordon looks toward the folder marked Candy Killer. 2 different child murderers, 2 people killing children, and we're already struggling to keep up with everything else happening in Gotham. He opens the folder. He sees the first photograph. Gordon immediately closes it. He doesn't want to look. Not right now. He looks toward the window. At least Bullock actually cares about this case. Gordon sighs. Harvey may be rough around the edges, but at least he cares when a child dies. He looks toward another folder. And at least the commissioner. Gordon pauses. He doesn't like thinking about Commissioner Loeb. He knows the man is corrupt. He knows there are things happening inside the department that shouldn't be happening. But even Loeb has ordered them to follow certain important cases. Even though he's corrupted, at least he's having us follow the important stuff. Gordon looks down at his desk. Then his thoughts turn toward Renee Montoya. Montoya? She was there. Not at every murder. But she had seen the evidence. She had gone through the reports. She had looked at the crime scenes. Gordon remembers her returning to the station. Her expression. The way she barely spoke. I wasn't there for the last 2 murders. Gordon looks at the closed folder. But when Montoya came back, he stops himself. He doesn't want to finish the thought. I can't even imagine what she saw. Gordon looks at the photograph sitting beneath the folder. He turns it face down. I can't even look at the pictures. His hand rests on the folder. I can't even look at the reports. He closes his eyes. For a moment, he's no longer Captain Gordon. He's simply Jim, a husband, a father, a man trying to protect his family. His thoughts drift toward home. Barbara, his 6-year-old daughter, his baby son. How am I supposed to keep my own children safe? He looks down. How am I supposed to protect my 6-year-old daughter and my baby boy? His fist slowly tightens, when I can't even keep random kids safe. Gordon opens his eyes. He looks at the files again. He knows he can't stop. Not now. Not when children are dying. He reaches for the phone. He picks it up. Get me Detective Bullock. A pause. And Montoya. Another pause. I want every piece of evidence we've got on these murders. Gordon looks toward the folder. And I want someone watching the streets tonight. He hangs up. For a moment, Gordon simply sits there. Then he quietly says to himself, "We're going to find you." He looks toward the photograph. "Whoever you are," his expression hardens. "We're going to find you." End of GCPD report, Volume 3, Number 2.3. GCPD report, Volume 3, Number 2.4, A Little Hope Earth 1 Saga. 1. God's Monsters and Mortals. Part 1, Mortals 2. Captain James Gordon sits alone in his office. The precinct outside is still busy, but his office is quiet. 2 files sit in front of him. One is marked Birthday Murders. The other, Candy Killer. Gordon opens the first file. He looks over the evidence. Then he closes it. He opens the second. He reads through the reports. His expression becomes tired. Gordon leans back in his chair. 2 killers, 2 cases, 2 threats to the children of Gotham. He looks toward the window. Then he thinks about the stories he's heard, the rumors, the reports, the officers who swear they've seen something moving across the rooftops. A creature, a man, a shadow, the Batman. Gordon looks down at his desk. Maybe. He pauses, just maybe. Gordon looks toward the window again. If the bat is real, he shakes his head slightly. Maybe he pauses again. Or it, or they, or whatever it is. Gordon looks at the files. Maybe it's actually a good thing for this city. He takes a slow breath, because if the bat really is out there, his expression softens. Maybe I can finally breathe. He thinks about his children, his daughter, his baby son. Maybe I can finally feel like my children are safe. Gordon closes both files. For the first time that night, he allows himself a small moment of hope. Then the phone rings. Gordon looks at it. His moment is over. He reaches for the receiver. Captain Gordon, end of GCPD report, Volume 3, Number 2.4. GCPD report, Volume 3, Number 2.5. The Voices Earth 1 Saga. 1. God's Monsters and Mortals. Part 1, Mortals 2. The recording begins inside the GCPD Forensic Laboratory. Edward Nashton stands over an examination table. 2 bodies are being examined. One is the latest victim connected to the birthday killer. The other is the latest victim of the candy killer. Edward adjusts his gloves. He looks at the first body, Victim 1. He checks the identification paperwork. Jonathan Matthews. He pauses, 8 years old. Edward looks down at the body, murdered on his birthday. He begins the examination. He checks the wounds, multiple stab wounds. He carefully examines the injuries. No defensive wounds of significance. He writes something down, suggesting the victim may have been caught completely off guard. Edward continues examining the body. Cause of death appears consistent with blood loss resulting from the stab wounds. He pauses. His eyes move toward the child's face. Then he looks away. That's all I have. Edward moves to the second examination table. The candy killer victim. Edward looks over the evidence bag containing the remaining candy. He examines the body. Victim 2. He checks the paperwork. Cause of death, he pauses, poisoning. Edward examines the stomach contents. Small traces of cotton candy. He looks toward the evidence container. Same substance recovered from previous victims. Edward runs another test. The machine begins processing the sample. Edward waits. The result appears. He looks at it. Poison. He writes it down. Confirmed. Edward removes his gloves. He looks at both bodies. 2 children, 2 different killers, 2 different methods. Edward quietly says, 2 monsters. The laboratory door opens. An officer enters. Nashton. Edward looks up. What? Captain Gordon wanted to know if you found anything. Edward looks back at the reports. Nothing that changes what we already know. What about shutting down the candy companies? Edward looks at him. That's not happening. Why? The commissioner. The officer sighs. He won't talk to the mayor. Edward looks back at the body. The commissioner wants to keep this under wraps for now. That's insane. Edward doesn't respond. The officer leaves. Edward continues working. After a few moments, he reaches into his pocket. He pulls out a small medicine bottle. He looks at it, then takes his medication. Edward sits down. He closes his eyes. For a moment, nothing. No voice. No whispering. No second voice in his head. Edward exhales. It's working. He opens his eyes. Finally, he looks at the bottle. Maybe I can keep them quiet. But the recording shifts. A younger Edward sits at a table. His father stands over him. You think you're smart? Young Edward looks down. I didn't say that. That's because you're not. Edward's father grabs him by the shoulder. You're stupid. Edward says nothing. You hear me? Yes. His father releases him. You'll never amount to anything. Edward looks toward his mother. She doesn't help. She doesn't say anything. She simply sits there. Edward looks at her. Why won't she help me? His father continues. Your mother always said you were useless. Edward looks at his mother. She turns away. The memory shifts. Edward is older. He remembers the arguments, the shouting, his father's anger, and his mother's behavior. Edward's father had blamed her for everything. He believed she had betrayed him. And because of that, Edward became the target of his father's anger. Edward remembers hearing the same words over and over. You aren't smart. You're worthless. You're just like your mother. You're never going to be anything. Edward remembers his mother, the woman he blamed for never protecting him, the woman his father constantly called a whore, the woman Edward eventually began resenting himself. The memory ends. Edward sits alone in the forensic laboratory. He looks at the medicine bottle. His hand trembles slightly. Then the voice returns. His own voice, but darker. You really think the medicine is going to save you? Edward closes his eyes. Not now. They never thought you were smart. Edward grips the edge of the desk. Stop. Your father was right. Edward opens his eyes. No, you were never smart enough. Edward takes another breath. The voice fades. The medication begins taking effect again. Silence. Edward looks at the two bodies. He slowly returns to his work. The recording continues for several seconds. Then, end of GCP Report Volume 3, Number 2.5. Batman Gotham's Knight, Volume 2, Number 4. The Birthday Boy, Earth 1 Saga, 1 God's Monsters and Mortals, Part 1, Mortals 2. Gotham City was still talking about the murders. Every newspaper had its own version of the story. Every television station had its own theory. But they all agreed on one thing. The killer was probably a man, and the Gotham News had given him a name. The Birthday Boy. Batman stood on a rooftop overlooking Gotham. Below him, a television in an electronics store played the evening news. A reporter stood outside the GCPD. Police believe the murderer responsible for the recent killings of children may be a male suspect. The killer has been unofficially dubbed the Birthday Boy by several Gotham media outlets due to the apparent connection between the murders and the victims' birthdays. Batman listened. The GCPD has not officially confirmed the killer's identity. Police are asking parents to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activity involving their children. The television changed to another report. Batman looked away. Another name, another monster Gotham has created. He looked across the skyline, but a name isn't a person. I need the person. Batman disappeared from the rooftop. He moved through the streets. No particular destination, he simply needed to clear his head. Penguin, Black Mask, the assassins, the candy killer, the birthday boy. His mind was becoming crowded. Too many cases, too many unanswered questions. Batman turned down an alley. Then he heard it. A scream, help! Batman stopped. Another scream, please! He immediately ran toward the sound. He reached the end of the alley. A young boy was backed against a wall. Standing over him was a man holding a knife. Batman stepped into the light. Let him go. The killer turned. He didn't say anything. He simply stared at Batman. Batman looked at the knife, then at the boy. He's the killer, the birthday boy. The man suddenly charged. Batman blocked the knife with his forearm. The attacker swung again. Batman ducked. The knife cut through the air above his head. Batman grabbed the man's wrist. The killer twisted free. He attacked again. Batman stepped backward. Fast. The birthday boy swung repeatedly. Batman blocked, ducked, countered. The killer never spoke, not once. Only his breathing could be heard. Batman grabbed his arm, twisted. The knife dropped. The birthday boy tried to punch him. Batman caught the punch, then drove his fist into the man's stomach. The killer doubled over. Batman grabbed him by the back of his jacket. He slammed him into the wall. The killer tried to get back up. Batman struck him again. The man collapsed. Batman stood over him. You're finished. The killer didn't answer. Batman quickly tied his hands together. Then he heard something behind him. The boy? Batman turned. The child was terrified. He was pressed against the wall. Batman slowly approached. The boy backed away. Don't. Batman stopped. He realized what the boy was seeing. A large man dressed in black, a mask, white eyes, blood on his gloves. Batman lowered himself onto one knee. Hey, the boy stared at him. You're safe. The boy didn't respond. Batman realized his voice wasn't helping. He needed to sound human, not like Batman, Bruce Wayne. He softened his voice. My name is Bruce. The boy looked confused. Bruce? Batman nodded. Yeah, he removed one glove. I'm not going to hurt you. The boy slowly lowered his hands. My name's Cullen. Cullen? The boy nodded. Cullen Rowe. Bruce looked him over. Are you hurt? Cullen shook his head. No. Good. Bruce looked toward the unconscious killer. Stay here. Cullen looked nervous. Are you leaving? Bruce looked at him. Just for a minute. Cullen nodded. Bruce stood. He checked the birthday boy, still unconscious. Bruce searched his pockets. Nothing. Then he found something. A folded piece of paper. Bruce opened it. An address. He looked at the unconscious killer. Interesting. He turned toward Cullen. Police will be here soon. Cullen nodded. Bruce walked away. He disappeared into the shadows. The address led Batman to an abandoned building. He entered carefully. The place was dark. Dust covered everything. But there was evidence everywhere. Photographs, newspaper clippings, maps, names, dates. Batman slowly examined the room. He's been planning this. He found photographs of children, birthday information, addresses, school schedules. Batman looked at another document, then stopped. A name, Ray Salinger. Batman searched through the files. Ray Salinger. He found an old photograph, then another document. Former employee, Oswald Cobblepot. Batman continued reading. Salinger had once worked for Penguin, but he had been fired. Batman found the reason. Terminated after Cobblepot discovered Salinger's involvement in child murders. Batman stared at the document. Penguin fired him? He continued. Apparently, Oswald Cobblepot had one rule when it came to his criminal organization. He didn't tolerate anyone who murdered children. Not because Penguin was a good man. He wasn't. But even Penguin understood that killing children brought too much attention. Batman found another document. After firing Salinger, Penguin had hired additional protection. One of them was known as King Kraken. Batman remembered the enormous man in the scuba diving suit from the Iceberg Lounge. So that's why he hired him. Batman looked around the room. Ray Salinger had become the birthday boy after losing his position with Penguin, and he'd started killing children. Batman closed the file. Penguin may be a criminal, but even he drew a line. Batman looked at the photographs. Ray Salinger didn't. Batman exited the building. He fired his grappling gun. The hook caught a rooftop. He pulled himself upward. Once he reached the roof, Batman touched the communication device in his cowl. Alfred. A voice answered immediately. Yes, Master Wayne? Bruce looked across Gotham. After the whole assassin thing is over. He paused. I'm thinking about changing the suit. There was silence. Why, Master Bruce? Bruce looked down at his hands. Because, Alfred. He looked toward the city. I want to scare criminals. A pause. Not children. Alfred was silent for a moment. I understand, sir. Bruce touched the communication device. Good. He disconnected. Batman stood alone on the rooftop. The suit has to become something more. Something criminals see and fear. Something children don't have to fear. He looked toward Gotham, then toward Otisburg. An old Wayne building stood in the district. The property had been abandoned for years, at least officially. Batman entered through a hidden entrance. He descended underground. A small elevator took him beneath the building. The doors opened. A small underground facility waited below. It wasn't the Batcave, not even close. There were no massive computers, no trophies, no giant statues, no elaborate decorations. Just a workbench, a medical table, a few monitors, some equipment, and a place for Batman to rest. Bruce removed the cowl. He sat down. His body was exhausted. His mind was worse. Ray Salinger, the birthday boy, Penguin, Black Mask, Lacey Towers, the assassins. Everything was connected somehow. Bruce leaned back. He closed his eyes. Penguin gave me a lead. Lacey Towers. Black Mask supposedly used it as a safe house. Bruce opened his eyes. After I rest, he looked toward the computer. I'm going there. The screen displayed a map of Gotham. A marker appeared over Lacey Towers. Bruce stared at it. Black Mask. I've been chasing you for too long. He stood, then stopped. He He remembered Penguin, the final offer, his confrontation with Oswald, then Bronze Tiger, being thrown into the fighting arena, the chance to question Penguin disappearing. Bruce clenched his fist. Penguin knows something, but Black Mask is the bigger problem. Bruce looked toward the city above him, and now I know something else. There are monsters in Gotham who kill children. He slowly put the cowl back on, the white eyes illuminated. Batman looked toward the exit. I'm gonna find every one of them. To be continued. Blackgate Interviews, Volume 2, Number 1, The Silent Man, Earth 1 Saga, 1 Gods, Monsters, and Mortals, Part 1, Mortals 2. Part 1. A small interview room sits inside Blackgate Prison. Dr. Leslie Tompkins sits across from Ray Salinger. A guard stands outside the door. Leslie opens a Salinger. Ray doesn't respond. Leslie looks at him. Do you know why you're here? Nothing. Ray? Nothing. Leslie studies him. Do you understand what I'm saying? Ray continues staring at her. Leslie puts her pen down. All right. She waits. Still nothing. Leslie tries again. Do you know why people call you the birthday boy? Ray doesn't move. Do you remember the children? Nothing. Leslie looks at his throat. She notices something. A scar. She leans forward slightly. May I ask you something? Ray doesn't answer. Leslie carefully examines the scar from across the table. That scar? She looks at her notes. There appears to be significant scarring around your throat. Ray remains completely silent. Leslie writes something down. Based on what I'm seeing, I'm beginning to think you may have lost your ability to speak sometime during childhood or adolescence. Ray looks at her. It's the first reaction he's given. Leslie notices. So you understand me. Ray looks away. Leslie sighs. All right. She closes the folder. This interview isn't going anywhere. She stands. Ray remains silent. Leslie looks back at him before leaving. I don't know what happened to you, Ray. She pauses. But something happened. The guard opens the door. Leslie leaves. Part 2, Epilogue. Leslie walks through Blackgate's administrative wing. She reaches the office of Director Hugo Strange. She knocks Strange. Come in. Leslie enters. Hugo looks up from his desk. Leslie. Hugo. She sits down. I just finished trying to interview Ray Salinger. And? He didn't say a word. Hugo raises an eyebrow. Refusing to cooperate? I don't think so. Leslie shakes her head. I think he physically can't. She explains what she noticed. The scarring around his throat suggests some kind of old damage, possibly from childhood or adolescence. Hugo listens. Leslie leans forward, and that's what worries me. Why? Because we keep getting people like him. Hugo looks at her. Criminals? People who clearly need more help than Blackgate can provide. Leslie sighs. Gotham needs an actual mental hospital. Hugo is quiet. I agree. Leslie looks surprised. You do? Yes. Hugo leans back, but agreeing doesn't mean I can make it happen. You're a respected doctor. That doesn't mean Gotham listens to me. Leslie shakes her head. Someone has to say something. I know. Leslie stands. Then I'll keep saying it. She walks toward the door. Hugo watches her leave. The door closes. Silence. Hugo reaches beneath his desk. He pulls out a file. He places it on the desk. Written across the front are 4 words. Ho is the Batman. Hugo stares at the file. He slowly opens it. GCPD Volume 3, Number 3, The Birthday Boy Earth 1 Saga, 1 Gods, Monsters, and Mortals, Part 1, Mortals 2. The recording begins inside the GCPD evidence room. Detective Renee Montoya sits at a desk with a file in front of her. The file is marked Ray Salinger, the birthday boy. Montoya opens it. Detective Renee Montoya, GCPD. She looks over the evidence. Ray Salinger, also known as the birthday boy, has been identified as the suspect responsible for multiple child murders throughout Gotham. She turns a page. Evidence recovered from his residence connects him directly to the murders. Photographs, notes, birthday cards, lists of children's names. Montoya pauses. Unfortunately, there's no question about what he did. She closes one folder and opens another. Cullen Rowe. Montoya looks at the report. 8-year-old male. She smiles slightly. He's alive. Montoya reads the latest update. The boy was safely returned to his family following the incident involving Salinger. She leans back. That's good. For a moment, Montoya allows herself to smile. At least one child made it home. She looks back at the evidence. At least one child murderer is behind bars. Her expression becomes more serious. Bullock probably wants this man dead. She thinks about Harvey. I know how he thinks. Ray killed children. Harvey probably thinks someone like that doesn't deserve to keep breathing. Montoya looks at the photograph of Ray, but I can't bring myself to want him dead. She pauses. What he did was horrible. Absolutely horrible. But she looks toward the evidence. He clearly needs help. Real mental help. The kind Gotham doesn't have. Montoya sighs, and unless someone speaks out about it, nothing is going to change. She closes the birthday boy file. Then she reaches for another. Candy Killer Montoya opens it. Her smile disappears. She looks through the evidence. There's no connection. She checks the reports again. No connection between Ray Salinger and the Candy Killer. She looks at the photographs. Different methods, different evidence, different victims. Montoya slowly closes the file. So Ray wasn't working with the Candy Killer. She stares at the two folders. That means she looks toward the recording device. There's still another child murderer out there. Montoya's expression hardens. The birthday boy is behind bars. She places her hand on the Candy Killer file. But the Candy Killer isn't. She turns off the recorder. End of GCPD Report, Volume 3, Number 3.